Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die, where my goal is to give you evidence that although our bodies will disappear, we survive physical death. When we aren't afraid of death, we are less afraid of life. From all these episodes, I aim for all of us to take more risks in our lives, go after our dreams, have great relationships, and some fun in the process. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the #1 international best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And today on our show, we have Krista Gorman. Let me tell you a little bit about Krista. She's a physician assistant who died during labor with her daughter 14 years ago. Her consciousness left her body and traveled to the afterlife where she was reunited with universal love. Before she returned, she made an agreement with her spiritual guides that she'd share what she had learned there with others here. After many years of struggling to reintegrate back into her life, Krista wrote the book called I Died and Learned How to Love, where she was able to put into words what her near-death experience taught her about life. Krista has made it her life's purpose to share what she has learned with others in the spirit of love and service. So hi, Krista. Welcome to We Don't Die.
Hi, Sandra. I'm so happy to be here.
I know, it's great. We've been sharing emails back and forth, and now to hear your voice is just fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And it's a perfect time to talk to, and to our listener, you never know when you're listening to this, but we are recording this prior to Christmas. So with the holidays upon us, I know for myself, my dad's not around and my grandmother's not around anymore. And yeah, my life doesn't look like I had thought it would be, 48, single, no kids. And so there can be regrets and there can be fear and there can be just this feeling of loss around the holiday times. And so I'm excited to talk to Krista today because she's got an unbelievable story. And my stand for all of us is that after this interview, we leave thinking about the holiday season just a little bit differently, about who we are, about our loved ones still being with us, even though we might not be able to see them. So Krista, does that sound aligned with what you're up to?
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you bring that very subject up, the fact that people, when they die, that they haven't really left. They're always
Yes.
there.
Yes, and it's important. And even, like I said, around the holiday times, it can be really hard and a lot of grief can kick in. But it would be different
Mhm.
if you may not want to or need to set a space for somebody at the table, but you may want to, or just as you're decorating the tree, you and I are both decorating our trees tonight, is
Mhm.
imagine that they're right with you, telling you where to put the ornaments or whatever. So how about you tell us a little bit about you and what happened? So
Okay.
you've got
Well,
the mic.
I was I had just graduated from my physician assistant training program, and it was the end of June 2000, and I was due to have my daughter about 3 weeks later. And what had happened was at my 20-week ultrasound, which is at 5 months, they get an ultrasound and they can determine the sex and they check all the organs and everything.
Uh-huh.
They had they had seen that there was something wrong with my daughter's kidney. So they said, well, you know what? It's probably a good idea if we take her, induce you a week early, and have her seen by a specialist.
Okay.
So I kind of reluctantly agreed to that. I knew that it was something that needed to be done medically. At the same time, I really wanted to be able to deliver her in a natural way.
Yep.
But I was fearful that if I didn't agree that there would be a bad outcome. So I said, okay, let's do it. I went into the hospital on a Sunday evening and started the induction, and by the next morning, about 13 hours later, I had only dilated about 3 centimeters. So they said, you know what, this has gone on long enough. What we need to do is probably do a C-section. We'll give you a little bit more time. So once that decision was made, it wasn't very much longer that I was, continuing in labor. I'd had an epidural, and I was watching the monitor next to the bed, and being a PA, I knew what the tracing on the monitor should look like
Okay.
whenever I had a contraction. And what was happening was that when I did have a contraction, my daughter's heart rate would drop very, very low, dangerously low. And I knew that they don't, that's not tolerated. The instant that happens, the decision is quickly made what to do, and it's almost always a cesarean section.
Right.
So that's exactly what was going to occur. So as they had to put an internal monitor on my daughter's scalp, which is sort of a metal corkscrew, and it monitors her pulse very closely. It's the most accurate way to measure it until the C-section was performed. So they were doing that, and all of a sudden I just felt like I couldn't, I was getting short of breath, and it was very, very quick as it progressed in its severity. And in seconds, in a matter of seconds, I was gasping for air. So they were wheeling me out of the room. The staff at the hospice acted very quickly, and they were moving me out of the room. And I remember being in the hallway on my side with an oxygen mask on me, trying to take deep breaths, and I just couldn't. I was very, more and more shallow breathing. And I just remember I was struggling, and then just there was this instant of just dramatic serenity that just came over me. And I knew that everything was going to be okay. And then the lights went out.
Okay. Wow.
And so then the next thing, so that was the last thing I remember there. And then the next thing I remember was being high above my body, my eyes, my vision had remained intact. And I was looking down high above my body at the scene going on below me. And I was also seeing black sort of particulate matter rapidly coming up to where I was, like approaching me, my eyes. And then I kind of looked around at myself, and I was sort of this static like cloud kind of hovering there.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of glanced around me at the level I was at, and I saw that the walls were kind of fluid, and down below me was something laying on a bed, and what was going on below me I didn't recognize. I couldn't put a label to anything. It was just activity. Okay. And I didn't know there were people. I didn't know that was my body. But I'm watching this scene, and it's fascinating to me. And I saw my daughter literally being born, being handed to somebody at my right shoulder. And while I was watching that, they turned around very quickly, and what they were doing was resuscitating her. And I remember feeling, wait, I want to see you, but what are you doing? And then I saw somebody come into the room and step up to the side of my body. And from what I understand, that was a specialist who had responded to the code blue, mm-hmm. and was coming in to help. And then I kind of went around to the left side of my body and was looking from that angle, and I started to feel like it was more familiar. Like, wow, wait, this is something I know. And as I started to feel that, I felt something pulling me from the left. And it was like a tug. And I said, no, I want to stay. I want to see this. And then it pulled harder. So I decided to let go. I decided to go with that. And the instant I made that decision, I was moving at lightning speed. Mm-hmm. And I moved through like a white space. It wasn't a bright light, but it was just intensely white, very brief, into a space that was just expanding, infinitely, but yet was very, very small. The place I was in was very tiny, but I felt like I was expanding at the same time. I was that particulate matter that had rejoined this particulate matter that I was in. And it was like an immersion in it, and it was just pure blissful love. And I felt that, and I felt, oh, wow. It was just such an intense, rapid kind of feeling. And then instantaneously, all the questions I'd ever had in my life were answered just in a nanosecond. And what they all boiled down to was love. Every single question boiled down to love. And so I had that knowledge then at that moment, and was continuing to move in the space. And on my right, I saw that there was a small gray sort of dot in the distance. And as I approached, it got larger and larger. And it was drawing me in, and at the same time, I wanted to go and see what that was. Mm-hmm. I had that desire. And so I came up, and I was getting closer to it, and I could see that there were these shadow-like figures in the opening, the space. It was sort of a circle and very ill-defined. And just inside that opening, there was a shadow figure of a little boy, and I could just describe him as like a little Tom Sawyer, like somebody from the 1800s with a wide brim hat and overalls, although it was very unclear, his features. But he was at the front of a grouping of adult shadow figures, and it's almost like they had put him there to draw me in.
Yep.
And so I went into that space, and I sort of moved past almost a line of these adult figures, and I got in there, and my intention was to help little boy, and then I didn't know where he was. He had gone somewhere. They had taken him away or done something with him, and I was confused for a minute, and I felt like that place wasn't as loving as the place I had just come from, and I felt uneasy, and I wanted to help these people, these figures, these spirits. I wanted to give them what they wanted, although I didn't know exactly what they wanted. And once they sensed that strong emotion of wanting to help, that compassion, they started to come at me like very quickly, very, very, very quickly, come at me, and it felt like my energy was being depleted, like they were taking my energy away from me.
Interesting.
And that,
wow.
Yes, and that happened so fast, and I could feel myself being like almost disintegrating there, just losing myself there. And I wanted to leave. And as soon as I had that desire, once again, I was being pulled away. So I was back in that static-like space, that expansive space, and feeling that love. And then I came to another opening, which was of the same kind of static that I was, and I merged into this space of just a gorgeous landscape. It was this field of yellow flowers out in front of me, just spanned far off in the distance, and it sort of met rolling green hills and a blue sky and trees dotted across the green grass. And on my right-hand side, there was an intensely evergreen forest. And then on my left, there was this beautiful rocky, moss-covered rock waterfall. And I felt this sense of being just one with all of it. The flowers and the rocks and the waterfall and the trees, they were all a part of me, and I was a part of them. And it felt like home to me. And I was in bliss. And then I was flanked on both sides by what I would label them as angels, but they were like benevolent spirits that were there to serve as my guides.
Okay.
And at that point, it was almost, I was at another threshold, and they communicated to me, and it was not telepathic. It was through feeling. I felt them tell me that I could stay there, I could move through that to what lay beyond there, or I could come back to my body. And it just took a second for me to make the, although I didn't know why I was deciding that.
Interesting.
But
okay.
Yes, I knew that was the thing I needed to do, and that I wanted to do. And so I started to move away from them, and they literally turned towards me and they said, "But if you go back, you need to learn you need to share what you learned here." And there was no hesitation in me at all. I said, "Yes, of course I would. Who wouldn't?"
Yeah. Okay.
And so then the next thing I remember was waking up to someone rubbing their knuckles on my sternum, and what that's called a sternal rub. And it's done when you're trying to bring somebody around that you believe is awake, but they're just not coming to. They're not waking up. So that was, it turned out that was my neurologist rubbing his knuckles because they had induced a medical coma to help my body to recover from what I'd been through. And what that was I had suffered an amniotic fluid embolism where the amniotic fluid had gotten into my bloodstream, and my body saw it as foreign and attacked it and surrounded it with cells, and that formed clots that traveled to my lungs and blocked off the circulation there, which is why I went into a cardiorespiratory arrest. And typically that's a fatal medical emergency.
Yep.
After that happened, and it's what I learned was a common problem after an amniotic fluid embolism is DIC, or disseminated intravascular coagulation, which is you bleed everywhere. You just bleed. You don't have any ability to clot the blood.
Oh my gosh.
And so, that had happened too. So in that, you have a 50-50 chance of surviving that. So I had been in the ICU only about 48 hours or so when I started to show clear signs that I was at least not, going to be incapacitated completely in my life. I was going to live, but they still didn't know what kind of brain function I would have.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just very quickly, I came out of that. They stopped the medicine to keep me in a coma, and I started to come out of it, and I started to interact with people. And the next thing I remember was literally I remember standing next to my bed in the ICU and flinging open the curtain, and because there was something going on, and I didn't know what it was, and I needed to find out. And there was my entire family, which was about 10 people that had come to the hospital, were all in a circle outside the ICU, and they were talking. And I flung the curtain open, and I saw my father's head pop up out of the circle, and he goes, "Uh-oh." What I had done was unhooked myself from all the monitors, the blood pressure cuff, everything, and climbed over the railing of the bed.
So you really did
And
this. This isn't a out of body experience. You really did it.
I really did
Oh
that,
my
and I did
gosh.
that. I did that only about maybe 72 hours after the cardiac arrest.
Wow.
So they were just floored, and so I was moved out of the ICU at that point into another room, and recovered there. So at about 8 days after the emergency, I left the hospital. And my daughter, in the meantime, she had to be delivered emergently, and she had a heart rate of about 60, and that was it. She wasn't moving. She was blue. She wasn't breathing.
Oh my gosh.
So they quickly resuscitated her and moved her from the hospital I was at to another local hospital that had a neonatal intensive care unit, because the one we were at didn't have one. And so she was there for about 8 days before, or 6 days, before they brought her to me. And I got to see her for the first time. And it was so cool because they handed her to me, and it was like we knew each other. I didn't, my parents say, "Oh, you didn't react at all. You were just like, it's like she was a baby doll." And I said, "No, I knew her. I felt like we already knew each other."
That's
That wasn't the first
amazing.
time we met. Yeah. So, since then it was a roller coaster. I really, I remembered my experience, not right away. I remembered it about 3 weeks later, and it came to me in a very vivid dream. And I woke up and I was completely changed. It was just amazing. Like, after I came home, I was blissed out. I was just like, I had no anxiety, nothing mattered. I took care of my daughter, instinctively just took care of my daughter. My mom was like, "I don't know how you knew what to do, but you know what to do."
Wow.
And yeah, and I was just like, nothing mattered, everything was cool. And that was not me. That was completely not me. I was a PA student and very intense and very type A. And so everyone's like, "Okay, she'll come back. She'll be the same old Krista. No worries." And then I had that dream, and I was like, wow, I remembered that it was like more vivid than life itself. It's just, you'll hear people talk about it, and it's like, yeah, that sounds really neat, but to actually experience it is just out of this world. And I didn't know what to do with it. It was so overwhelming and so intense, and I felt such a huge responsibility to share that message of love with everybody. And the thing is that the message is not just love, like, oh, we need to love each other, but
Right.
it's every part of our being is love. And to express that in our lives and in every possible way is why we're here.
Say more
So
about that, because I don't
I
really
will.
get that.
Well, we are, the source of us is this energy of love. And it's not something you can put your finger on unless you're here in the physical world and you understand that everything is made of love. Every solid thing is made of love. Every tree, every flower, every person, every animal is made of love. And in that way we can touch it physically. But there's the spiritual, what's the word I'm looking for, part of love that is not, you can't touch it, but we all share it. We can't see it,
Right.
but it's shared between us and everything else. And it's that whole quantum physics idea about the sharing of energy. And it's moving through us all the time, and it's in constant motion. And the air I breathe right now is the same air that my husband is breathing 2 minutes later. And those are particles. We're sharing all of that. It's what makes us up. And every bit of it is love. The only thing is that we are not necessarily aware of that in this physical body.
Right.
We come from it. We are it. But when we're born into this world, that single idea or feeling of love turns into that feeling of love, but then this other thing, which is fear.
Yeah.
So we're born into that. When we come into this physical world, we carry the knowledge of fear, and it's sort of triggered when we start to have life experiences here. So we come into this world as pure, just beautiful, joyful, light, and love, and then we begin to experience its opposite. So then we learn, okay, well, I'm loved, but then there's this other thing that doesn't feel so good. And depending on how the balance of that in one's life is the result of our personality, I suppose, our way of dealing with things in life. If we are raised in a very loving household, we tend to be very loving people.
Right.
And express that. If we are raised in an abusive household, we tend to be fearful, possibly abusive people, because that's what we've been immersed in.
Right.
And what people need to understand is that at any given moment, we have the choice to create our reality. It's the law of attraction, very much the law of attraction, and I experienced that in the afterlife firsthand, because I intended to go towards those spirit beings. I wanted to help them. That was my desire and my intention. They were also drawing me in, and this was all orchestrated by this universal love, this universal energy. So they were drawing me in. I intended to go there. Then I wanted to leave. I was given that. I left because that was not by my own accord, but it was through the help of the universal love, divine love, God, goddess, whatever you want to call it. And I was given this experience with those beings because I am a person who loves to help people, and for many years of my life, I lost myself in that. I would help them, but not help myself. I would give of myself, but not give to myself.
Was that before having this experience or after? Before?
Before, yeah, very much before. And I feel like that experience was created by me and for me so that I could learn to put myself first, to love and have compassion, but I needed to put myself first in order to be there for other people, to be able to give that love and compassion to other people.
How do you do that, Krista?
What's that?
How do you do that? How do you start? Because in theory, it sounds great that we can't help anybody else unless we take care of ourselves, and self-love is so important. And, many of us live with doubts and fears and negative thoughts about ourselves. And do you have any idea how we can put in that love? Because it's so easy for many of us to love other people.
Yes,
But
it
then
is.
when we look in the mirror, not so much. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is just to become aware of who you are, what you are, which is just love. The same love that you give to somebody else. Imagine, that being given to you and being given to you by you. Now, just to know that, even you don't have to necessarily know how to put it into action, but just to first have that understanding, that's the very first step. And then to listen to your own body's energy. Let's say somebody asks you to host a party for an event, and you've got work, you've got all these other things going on, yet you want to help them, but it really means really taxing you and stressing you out, rather than saying, rather than saying, yes, I can absolutely do that, or I can do that, no problem, and then feeling bad about it because you know that you're going to feel stressed out, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. It's the choice is, I'd love to help you, but XYZ. This is what I need to do for me right now.
Okay.
And is there any other way that I can help you where it won't require so much of my time, my energy, and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of an easy example. The other examples come when you're in relationships, and a lot of women specifically tend to lose themselves in their relationships with others, and it's such an easy thing to do when you're not aware, and to be aware that your needs are equally important as anyone else's needs, if not more so, in order to take care of yourself. Then if you're not realizing that, then you're going to lose yourself in that relationship. And the best thing the thing that's helped me and that my experience completely supported is to put myself first in terms of, okay, how do I feel about this situation? Is it making me feel uncomfortable? Is it making me feel good? If it's not making me feel good, then what is my part in it? How am I contributing to that not feeling good?
Okay.
And what can I do to change that at this moment? What can I do? Do I need to change my thinking about it? Do I need to change my approach to it? Do I need to change the fact that I'm even involved in this at all?
Yep.
There's a lot of self-reflection that goes along with that, but I feel like the main thing is feeling and intention in our lives and monitoring our thoughts. The afterlife for me, the experience was pure feeling and vision. I could see and I could feel emotions, and I could feel the energy of the spirit beings. So the intention portion is very important, because what we need to focus on first is our intention. What is our intention for ourselves? Do we want to feel good, or do we want to feel like we're, being of service to other people?
Right.
And only focusing on that, or do we want to feel good? And so focusing on feeling good, and then taking that next step. Okay, what is it that I can do in this situation that won't drown me or make me feel bad?
So feelings come first.
Feelings come first.
And intention. And then speak a little bit about monitoring our thoughts, because, man, I tell you what, I try to quiet my mind sometimes, and just thoughts just come flooding in, and most of them are not empowering. What can we do about our thoughts?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory here. After
Sure.
I came back from my experience, I wanted to share it with everybody, and everybody wanted me to be who I was before, and I wasn't that person any longer.
Oh my gosh, wow. Yeah, I can
That
see
was
that.
very intense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, where did
and
Krista go?
so and so their energy was, because it's all about energy. Their energy was, we want Krista to be the way she was before. I felt like I wanted to be the new person I had learned I was,
Right.
and I didn't know how to be that, though. I didn't know what I needed to do to be that person, because here I was back in the physical world, not understanding how to navigate myself through it anymore. As the new person I had learned I was, so I struggled with that a lot, and I eventually fell back into the Krista role. As my brain injury improved, I became more and more like the old me. And with the exception of the fact that I was a lot softer and a lot more loving,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot more caring to myself too. And so that goes along with, okay, what was my intention back then? I wanted to be this loving being, but I needed to fit back into my life. Okay, well, how can I manage that and still be happy in some respect?
Right.
So I had to alter my thinking. I looked at it as, okay, you have this tremendous experience to share with other people. You're not really sure how to do it yet, so you just need to figure it out, and you'll figure it out along the way. And I just sort of stayed focused on that, figuring it out, while I was trying to manage my life in the meantime. And the struggle sometimes was really overwhelming in doing that, because sometimes I just wanted to run away and go to like a commune or something.
You're right.
I just wanted to like just meditate and just learn how to really be that love in this physical world. And that wasn't going to happen. So I struggled with that, and I tried to keep myself happy and kind of grounded by watching my thoughts. That my near-death experience would the memory would come to me, and I would push it away, but at the same time, I would say, okay, not now, not yet. My relationships, they were navigating them was difficult, and I didn't do a good job of it for a long time. But then I came to the realization that, okay, I felt out of control with stuff. I was like, I feel like I'm not in control of my life at all. I want to be this person, but I'm not.
Right.
And I have to go to work, and I have to be a mother, and I have to be a wife, and I have to clean the house and do all these other things that distract me, and I'm really unhappy about it. So I had to change my thinking. Okay, you want to fulfill your spirit, which we all do, but right now, you can't have the end result right now. You need to figure out a way to live your life that will give you happiness and joy while you move towards that end result. So I altered my thinking. I saw, washing the dishes as I'm serving my family. I'm serving myself also, because I know that this needs to be done, and it's going to get me to, the next step towards where I want to be. Because ultimately, I wanted to be sharing my experience with other people and just doing that.
Yeah.
Making a living, just doing that, just helping people. So in the meantime, my relationships were very difficult, and I realized that a lot of things, but I realized mainly that I needed to change my thinking and monitoring your thoughts. So let's say, there was an instance where my husband got very, very ill. He was a touring musician for about 20 years, and he had neglected his health, and he'd gotten very sick. And I was resentful about that for a while, because I had been holding down the fort, taking care of our daughter and taking care of the house and whatnot, and neglecting my own dreams, my own needs. And I was now having to take care of my sick husband, who had been pursuing his dream for, forever.
Right.
So, I was just as much a part of those choices around that, but at that point I was resentful.
Oh, sure. That's easy to do. Right.
Yeah. And here I was now having to care for him. So I was mad for a while, and then I realized how destructive that anger and that resentment is. And I had been pushing my near-death experience away, because I felt like I can't deal with you right now. I can't be what I said I would be, and I can't do what I said I would do, because I've got all this other stuff to deal with. And that made me miserable. And I finally got to a point where our daughter was suffering too. She was, feeling the stress of what her parents were going through. And I saw what was happening to her down one night, and I just said, you know what, Krista? You need to stop fighting, stop battling yourself, and get real. And really just get real. So I sat and I thought, okay, what is it that would make me happy? What is it that I need to do to be the person that I really want to be? And I just started to make little notes. And eventually, I developed it into the 12 Principles for Daily Living, which are in the book, I Died and Learned How to Live. And these are things that help me to navigate my life from really pretty much from that point on. And it embodied, what I didn't realize was it embodied my whole experience in the afterlife. And the overarching issue, the overarching part of that is monitoring our thoughts. So if I'm dealing with something in a situation where I feel like I want it to be a certain way, then, and it's not that way, then the first thing is acceptance. Okay, this is the way it is in this moment. And then intention, what is it you want? What is it your desire is? And then focus on that intention. You're fighting with your spouse. You want to get along. Focus on getting along. Focus on the fact that is the end result that you want. So what do you need to do to get there? You need to love. Be loving in all your words, thoughts, actions, regardless of how the other person responds to you, regardless of what they do. You be loving. You be solid and grounded in yourself and be loving. The other part of that, the other thing that we struggle with is the negative thoughts about ourselves.
Yes.
Like you had said, the difficulty of loving ourselves. And just understanding that we are loving beings, and having that fundamentally grounded in that we are loving beings. No one can dispute that. that is a fact. And
Uh-huh.
I can't emphasize it enough. And nobody is an exception. There is no exception to that. And the ego is the thing that contradicts it. And that's the part of ourselves that that is rooted in fear.
Yes.
So when we are not feeling good, then ego is involved.
Yeah.
When we're not feeling good, we need to change that. What is it we can do? We can change our thinking about whatever it is that's going on. If we're saying to ourselves, you're really stupid. You shouldn't have done that. You should have done it this way. Or you should have not made that decision. You should have made another one. Well, that is all destructive thinking. You can't go back and change anything. You just have to look at where you're at right now and take the next best step for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right. And catch yourself in the act of negative thinking, because they're
Right.
autopilot.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And that's the awareness part. It's becoming aware of, okay, this thought's there, seeing it as something that's not you, because you are loving. You are just pure love. And this thought that's there is not you. It's not coming from you. And to sort of acknowledge it in a detached kind of way and say, okay, you're there, and I let you go. And replace it with the opposite of that thought.
What do you mean?
Well, if you're saying to yourself, your hair color is really, it's terrible. No, your hair color is beautiful. If you want it to change, you can change it.
Gotcha. But for right now, you just express the love and the beauty.
An acceptance, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Very profound. That feeling of bliss that you had when you had that experience, um, do you think that's something we can experience here on Earth? I've heard so many people's experiences, and as much as I try to visualize and what it would be like, it just seems like it's not possible because we're living here on
Mm-hmm.
Earth with all these struggles. But are there moments that you've been able to feel that bliss?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is that I had to go through all those struggles and difficulties here in my body in order to re-experience it. Because when I was able to let go of outcomes, when I was able to remember who I was and actually re-experience the love I was in the afterlife, things really began to change for me. And I just lived my life differently. I made choices that were more healthy for myself. And this is all over the course of years that I did this, but anyone can do it, and absolutely anyone. And so during the course of that, I'll just run through these 12 principles really
Oh, I'd
quick
love
that are in the
that.
book.
Yeah, I'd love
And these
that.
are things that on a daily basis I practice them, and I am not perfect. None of us are perfect. I have bad days, I have bad hours, I have bad moments,
Right.
but the underlying thing is that what I bring myself back to is that I am love, and I'm infinite, and I'm a part of everyone and everything. I'm never alone. And so these are the 12 principles. The first one is live in awareness, and I was talking about that with knowing and understanding and then experiencing the loving beings that we are,
Mm-hmm.
and that we have the ability to change our thoughts at any moment, that we have that control to intend our life in the direction that we want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
Live willingly, meaning that, okay, the outcome may not be what you wanted at this time, but knowing that we live in a benevolent universe that always has our best interest in mind at all times, and that this particular outcome may seem like it's not something you want, but you know what? It's going to lead you to the next great thing. So willing to accept that in the moment while still intending what it is that you want will help people to keep moving forward.
Okay.
Live lovingly, just that loving you, but loving me first. Live fearlessly. Fear will paralyze us. Fear is the opposite of love. So whenever I find myself in fear, boy, I know, okay, Krista, that's it. Turn it around. What are you afraid of? Is it something that is going to kill you?
Right.
No.
Doubtful.
Even
Yeah.
if it does, I've already been there. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, right. Exactly.
But we're just living in just a continuum of energy, and it all cycles around. So death is just as much a part of life as life is a part of death. Live compassionately, and that's key. Is just when you live compassionately, you're identifying with the other person. You're identifying that yes, you and I are one. And when we're one, then there's no separation, and you can then act to do whatever it is that you want to do to help to relieve their suffering.
Right.
Live patiently, which is allowing that moment to be its moment, and then letting it pass. You're stuck in a traffic jam. It's that way because it's supposed to be that way right then. Enjoy, turn up the music. Maybe you're there because there was an accident up ahead of you 30 miles an hour faster, 10 miles an hour faster. Maybe you would be in that accident. So to live patiently, live presently. When we're in the present moment, we are, this is a huge one. When we're present, we have all the energy of the universe at our disposal at any given time. And we can inflect that energy in any direction that we want it to go through our intentions. And when we are living in the present, the power of that present moment is immense. And
Wow.
we can create anything we want to create out of that present moment. The thing is that it's so powerful that 1 minute I was breathing fine, the next minute I wasn't. I mean, things change, things happen, and anything could happen in any given moment. And if we are focused on that and focusing our energy and our intentions and using it, then we become very powerful creators of our lives. To live spiritually, and spiritually means, it can mean anything for anybody, but my own experience with spirituality is that we are to recognize that we're all spiritual beings, that the physical bodies are simply the masks that we wear to be able to recognize one another as spirits in the physical body. I'm sure you've experienced it yourself, where you just feel a connection to somebody.
Yes, definitely.
It's not tangible, but you just have this connection, and that's recognizing the being, the spiritual being in the other, and you've had some connection maybe in the past, but spirituality is just knowing that we're not limited by these physical bodies. Live faithfully is to, I like to put it in words where you don't need faith when you've had experience. So to have faith in the fact that we will get to where it is we want to go, until we have the experience of that, we need to have faith in that.
Okay.
And that's the thing that helps to keep us going, because we're all here to evolve spiritually, and to understand that and to have faith in that natural evolution to our highest good is it just calms the soul.
Sure.
Live purposefully, and purposefully is that we all have a purpose, and for me, in my experience, it's to move closer to the experience of being love in the body, just complete love in everything that we do. But along the way, we have little purposes, and to be able to get up in the morning and say, okay, what's my purpose today? Well, first, my purpose is to love myself and love others. And then what's the next thing I need to do? Well, I need to do the laundry so that I can wear my work clothes, so I can drive my car.
Right.
To do all those things, we still have all those mundane human kind of things that we need to do. But then at the end of the day, we can take our money and we can enjoy a trip with our family and bond, or we can donate it to a charity, or we can do whatever we intend to do with it. But every moment is full of purpose. Live creatively, and this is a big one, because we're creative. We're creators and co-creators of our lives. And in the self-help area, there's a lot of talk about that. And what I experienced it in my near-death experience, where I was the creator of my experience, and I was co-creating that with the loving universe. And so we made it together, and that's what we do in our lives. We're not alone in the creation of our lives. We're not alone in going through anything in our life. We have the ability to take our energy and inflect it in the direction of whatever our intention is and create our lives through that.
That's
At the
awesome.
same time, yeah, at the same time, we have the support of the divine universe in doing that. So we're never alone. And, when we think bad stuff happens, it's never bad. It's all good. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all for a higher purpose, and that is to bring us closer to the loving beings that we are, to bring us closer to experiencing ourselves as the loving beings that we are. And the last one is live miraculously. And boy, that's a fun one because everything is a miracle. Watching a butterfly fly through the air with its wings flapping and knowing exactly where it needs to go and what it needs to do, and seeing another butterfly flying after it and then dancing in the air, that's a miracle. And to be able to identify with that and feel that and absorb that is just life vivifying. It just creates such joy and connection and ultimately love, and that's why we're here. So there's miracles everywhere.
Yeah, oh
The
yeah,
doctor said
definitely.
the doctor said I was a miracle, my daughter was a miracle. And my response to that was everything's a miracle. Just I didn't feel that. I didn't approach it from, oh yeah, God, I'm such a miracle. And my response to that when I heard it, when I came back was, yeah, but everything is. I'm no exception.
I think Einstein's was the one who said we can look at life as if nothing is a miracle or everything is a miracle.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if it's good enough
Exactly.
for Einstein, it's good enough for us.
Yeah, wise man. Wise man.
Yeah, Krista, you're just a glowing, wonderful, loving, brilliant soul. It is so awesome to hear your story. Know that you experienced this bliss, but then as humans have it, being able to tell us the struggle to try to integrate this back into your life. And it's I love hearing the stories of the afterlife and as inspiring as they are, but the real inspiration comes when you can share your struggles and I bet you don't have your whole life handled. You don't have perfection everywhere.
Oh no, you should see the wreck my house is right now.
But I think the gift from all of this is like we get a set of tools and it's applying them into our lives because, I do think we need the fear to experience the love, I think that there's a point to all of us being here. And like you said, for the expansion of our souls and bringing us closer to who we really are. And
Hmm.
that it may not seem like a game because games I think are meant to be fun, but the game of life is that. I mean, there are things that we can only experience here in this human form. And
Hmm.
one thing I just want to, our time's coming to an end, but something that really struck me from this whole interview is that our best interest is always in mind. And there are times, and I'm sure all of us have some things in our life right now that are occurring as pain and misery and struggle. And, it might be hard to look for, like, how in the world is that for my own good?
Hmm.
But, just a bit of sharing, like, my dad died of cancer, and those last couple weeks were just hell. I mean, really, truly were. And seen the generosity, love, and compassion that flew out of me, or the intense love. And of course, the obvious is out of that painful experience came my book and being able to help other people. But for each one of us to look in our life and maybe that's the challenge I want to leave everybody with for today. Whatever happens, look through the lens that my best interest is in mind right now. You think that's a good thing to take on, Krista?
Oh yes, yes, wonderful message.
Yeah, and even if we don't understand it, because in the moment we don't, but
Hmm.
looking back on
Hmm.
our lives, to be the person we are today, we had to experience the good and the bad, and I think it would give each one of us today a sense maybe not stewing on something that's going wrong, or if you're angry at somebody, don't be stuck in the anger. Just say, you know what, this is for me, wow. Somehow I've got some growth out of this. There's some loving to be done. And Krista, I really want to thank you. Is there any closing thoughts that you have? Anything that you've left unsaid? Any last parting thoughts before we close the interview?
I would just love to wish everyone a very happy holiday and do something nice for yourself. In all the giving that you're doing for everyone else, take a few minutes and just do something really nice for yourself.
I
That's all.
love that. That's really, really great. And that's self-love. And Krista Gorman, her website is kristagorman.com, and her blog is there, and also how to find her book. You can we spell her name KRISTAGORMAN.com. And also an easy link is if you go to we don't die radio.com, you could see the picture of the beautiful Krista Gorman. And then I'll also have the link to her website and her book, I Died and Learned How to Live. And yeah, I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled that we had you today, and we got to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. This has just been wonderful.
Yeah, and so for our listener today, let's put in the self-love, really. And I mean really, however, whatever you would do for another person, do that for yourself today. So my name is Sandra Champlain. You've been listening to We Don't Die Radio. I do believe that life is an education for the soul and that your life here on earth is important. So I wish you a wonderful day and add that self-love in. We'll see you soon.